We have returned from a short break, a brand new week, a whole new Speedway conversation. It's episode 29. Welcome back to 360 Speedway. Thank you for looking in. Hope you are all well. Thanks once again for joining us on 360 Speedway, back from our little sojourn in the Tenerife sunshine. Just what I needed at my time of life. Another birthday, another lap of the planet celebrated. We are back though for episode number 29 as we get back into some proper Speedway discussion. We are delighted to be back with you. Let's get started then and introduce this week's lineup of Speedway punditry excellence. So first up this week, he's here again. He's here for more. What headgear will he have on this week? Let's ask him as we introduce Lawrence here. Welcome back to you, Lawrence.
Good evening.
Good to see you, Lawrence. Did you enjoy yourself at the Speedway? I can't remember the name. I can't remember the acronym. But at Leicester, the World Speedway Riders Association. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good as always. Catch up with lots of people.
Cool.
Really good event. You have to get there soon, that's Derek.
Yeah, I need to get along sometime. Next up, the only 360 Speedway team member to lift a shiny trophy this season. Is he the shortest team manager in British Speedway? He's probably taller than me, to be fair. Anyway, welcome back to the 360 hot seat. It's Carol Johnson. Hey, Carol.
Evening, everyone.
Where's that shiny trophy, Carol? I was certain you were going to have it on camera.
Well, I can grab it in a bit for you.
You do that, Karen. And completing this week's lineup, he's a late rider replacement for the very ill Andy Meredith. Get well soon, Andy, if you're watching. The man who cuts through all my nonsense week on week and tells it exactly as it is. Who else can it be but up to Crabby, Nigel Crabtree?
Hey up, Derek. Hey up, all of you.
Good to see you, Nigel. Collectively, this week's handlebar heroes. Usual disclaimer applies. All of the views expressed on this episode, on this podcast, are those of us as individuals and bear no resemblance or no relationship to any clubs that we are or formerly associated to. It always makes me feel so much better to say that out loud. Okay, let's get on with the action, folks. Thank you for looking in once again. Let's kick off with episode 29. And we're kicking off again with another 360 Speedway big name interview. This week's guest started racing professionally for Exeter Falcons way back in 1998 when we were all much younger people. He had literally never looked back on his career. His undoubted talents as an all-round motorcyclist took off. Just some of his individual achievements. I'm leaving out many of the team ones. Include 3 times the British champion, 6 times long track world championship medals, 3 individual and 3 team, former European grass track champion, 103 no less Speedway Grand Prix, 9 SGP podium places and 1 extremely memorable SGP win at Cardiff in 2007. He is also the current Championship Riders champion, and as I say, all of that excludes his 7 British League title gold medals and multiple Knockout Cup peers and 4 successes. I'm breathless. Apart from all that, he is an all-round good guy. It can literally only be one man. A big welcome to 360 Speedway 4, Chris Bomber Harris. Good evening, Chris.
Evening, guys.
I'm exhausted after introducing you, Chris Harris. What an introduction. But listen, you're one of these guys, Chris. You've been around forever, and God bless you for being around forever, Chris. But over your long, very successful career, you know, when you hear me or other people, as I'm sure happens quite often, you just get a sense of some of your successes over your racing career. You must be super proud of all of what I just read out.
Yeah, I listened to what you read out. Actually, I didn't realise it was so much. It's as much as it being a job to earn money, it is a thing that you want to have a career and you always want to have a lot of medals and trophies. I can look back and go, yeah, I can remember when I won that back in
Yeah.
X amount many years ago and blah blah. So, yeah, when you go out there and you win a league title or individual meetings and trophies and that, it does mean a lot. Especially say when you coming towards the end of your career, you look back on it and go, wow, it's we won a lot.
I tell you what, one other remarkable thing about you, Chris, is you are still adding to that trophy and medal tally. Even this season, you added to it on the World Championship stage, and there is no higher stage in the sport. In long track and speedway and grass track, and you are showing no signs, Chris Harris, of slowing down or having a reduced appetite for winning stuff.
No, I'm not planning on slowing down yet. I said before, like when we had that cover, as much as it was a pain for everybody, it sort of relighted a fire in my belly that the love of the sport I've always had, and it just grew more really because it sort of like was taken away a little bit, and yeah, I got more hungry for it, and I want to keep going as long as I can, break as many records as I can along the way, and win as much as I can.
We love it, Chris. Never stop, never lose that attitude, Chris. To the uninitiated like myself, who's never ridden a motorcycle, never mind a speedway bike or a long track bike or a grass track bike, you have, as I've just demonstrated, you have lots of success across those three motorcycle disciplines. But to the uninitiated like me, can you begin to help me understand what is the key, assuming there is, key differences across those three disciplines?
Yeah, obviously the bikes are a lot different from the speedway to the grass. Obviously, still a 500cc, but the long track bikes and grass track, they're longer than a speedway bike. You've got rear and front expansion, and obviously you've got the motor, and you've got a 2-speed gearbox, which never leave on the handlebar. But sometimes I've grabbed before and forgot to grab the clutch and it's gone over.
I think I've seen that with the grass test, yeah.
But and obviously the tracks on the long tracks most long tracks are 1,000 meters. So the speeds we hit the corners could be up to 100 mile an hour.
Wow.
Depending on the surfaces and everything. But I do enjoy the long tracks. I think it's that speed and the thrill you get from going fast, and especially when you tuck down behind the handlebars, one hand off the handlebar and everything. It's for me, it's a great feeling.
It's ridiculous, Chris. 100 miles an hour is ridiculous. Chris, here we are. We're mid-November time. The most recent race season is now behind us. We're in that sort of winter period where there's a bit of a lull, generally speaking. But are you more frustrated about being laid up because of the season having ended, or are you quite pleased quietly to get a bit of a break, Chris?
No, the first couple of weeks after my last meeting I did of the season was nice. I had a few weeks off and think, that's it. And then it's like you start getting to your feet there, and it's like, when can I go back racing? I'd ride every day of the week, all year round. Especially when I've been in the workshop this week, stripping the bikes completely down and took down to my sponsor, Sean, so he can rebuild the new ones up for the year. So when you strip that down, you think, I want to get back out there now. But yeah, the break you do is good. Get back in the gym, try to lose some pounds, and be a bit lighter for next year, hopefully.
Back in the gym, because that sounds like hard work. Look, I just want to remind Nigel and Lawrence and Carol, you guys just jump in at any point, and I'll give way to you guys. Chris, during the season, obviously, I've a vested interest in you, Chris, in so much as I love seeing you race for my club at Glasgow, and because of that, I keep an eye on your activity away from Glasgow, and this season in particular, you seem to be a very busy guy, Chris. You were out in Sweden at various points. We've talked about long track and grass track out in the continent as well. Do you have any idea as to how many meetings across the various disciplines that you will have competed in this year?
No, I'm not quite sure how many I've done. I like to do as many as I can. Like I said, I'd ride every day, but we've been here then everywhere. We did a few in Sweden, not as many as I would like, but obviously in the long track we wanted to do a bit more. But yeah, I'm not sure what the actual total meetings I've actually done this year. I'll have to try to sit down and go through it.
I remember last winter seasons, I think it was a Polish sourced piece of information, and you and Leon Flint actually were named as in the top 10 or something, busiest riders in World Speedway. So I'll keep an eye out for that coming out again this winter. Chris,
Yeah, I seen that one because I think Tom just pipped me to it because the
That's
last couple
right,
of years
Tom Brennan,
I've been
that's
the
right.
top busiest rider and he just beat me. So I think I was a close second, which I was not. I did message Tom saying I'm not happy with him.
Chris, listen, away from all the meetings that you did race in, would it be? I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, but would it be fair to look back on the season that's just gone and identify the 2 meetings that you were most disappointed not to have competed in, where the Manchester Grand Prix, given how blooming close you were to in that British final, a few weeks before. How, if you don't mind me asking you about it, you looked particularly gutted when you came off at the end of that British final heat, and despite the fact it was such a sensational heat, it was a stonking good 4 laps of Speedway, and you should be very proud of the part that you played in that. But to my original question, Chris, how galling was it for you not to quite make it into those Grand Prix?
Yeah, it was gutting, especially after the way the British final went in the final heat. When I think somebody said was there 17, 18, 19 passes in one heat. Some places don't get that in one season. So it was going into it. When I got offered we knew going into the meeting that the chances would be for the reserves would be the next in line, if you like. So when I got up there, and I thought, well, do I take it or not? And I thought, well, to be fair, I rode my backside off for it. I'm gonna take it. Over the 2 meetings, somebody's bound to touch the tapes, and my luck is nobody did, so I never got out there. But no, obviously it was nice to be around that again, do the practice. And nice to be. I think it was the top 10 in the laps, but when they were doing the qualifying for their things and that. So I was sort of up there mid-table, which was nice. Obviously, practice is only practice, and when you're out there racing is different. But yeah, just to be around that again, I really enjoyed it, being around the top riders. It sort of gave me a buzz, like, I'd love to be back here, actually. I think my time's passed there, because I obviously don't get to do the qualifiers anymore, so I don't get picked for them. But yeah, to be around it did sort of bring back fond memories of being in it, around it, and around the world-class riders, and saying, God, I've sort of missed this side of the sport. Yeah,
listen, I'm going to bring the guys in because they've been far too quiet, Chris, too well behaved. Nigel, but back at the time, after the British final, we talked about it. We did a whole dedicated podcast segment about the British final, and we talked for a long time about how good that final was that Chris featured in. But you think, Nigel, I'm not putting words into your mouth, but I think you're quite impressed by the form that Chris is still able to show on a consistent basis.
Yes, great. It's great for Great Britain, isn't it, that we've got British riders up there at the top still. Sam Hall for the Brits, as you all know. And it's great to see that Chris is still doing it. The one thing I was going to ask you, Chris, what do you think is, what about all this practice? Do they need to have a practice before the Grand Prix?
To be honest, I hate practicing. I thought, even like if I go before the season starts, go out for a practice, I get so bored. I know we sort of do it to run the bikes in and that, but I think for me personally, they're supposed to be world class. They do it in all the sports, don't get me wrong, but like the world class riders, they're riding pretty much 2 or 3 times a week. They sort of know the bikes, and so they got there to get their practice to get it set up. Whereas like I always say, well, don't have the practice, go into your first heat, and that sort of could make it up a little bit. If you're not off your setup, then somebody's not going to be as quick. And so for me, I always hated practice. I done better sometimes when I didn't bother practicing, especially when I was at Coventry on a Friday. I would miss practice, do the meeting at Coventry, and fly out and have the boys out there already. Bikes would set up, and I would just turn up, jump on for the meeting, and go from there. It would be less cost for the riders.
Plus, they always say, in commentary, the track's totally different from a practice to the time of the meeting. And my personal opinion is, none of you need a practice on that track. You'll all rode all the track before. So it's still a pretty level playing field, pretty much so, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always said that. We're all pretty riding. Most of the tracks we've all been to. Obviously, the indoor ones are a bit different, but that would throw a bit more entertainment up, wouldn't it? If nobody's practiced on it.
Yeah.
and everything. So it's just, for me, it was never enjoyable the practice. I've been in practices and people come up to me after practice, "Oh, Bomber, you're the quickest out there in practice." You think, "Oh, that's good." And then you can't come to the meeting and I've had 5 lasts. And I'm like, what's happened?
And done a lot of good.
Yeah, I've not done nothing. The bikes have gone to the next for the first heat, exactly the same, but they've gone boom, and I'm like, so I know.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. 'Cause I don't think they should have a practice personally. That I don't.
Just get out with it. I hate practicing now. Just get out there and just go.
Good on you. Good on you. Cheers, Chris.
Come on, mate.
Lawrence, to bring you in, as a former rider, Lawrence, we spoke last week about, you remember, the last episode, you identified a couple of riders, Lawrence, as being safe riders that you enjoyed being out on track with and you could rely on and depend on to give you space and all that good stuff. I would imagine, Lawrence, but I'd appreciate your view on this, that Chris Harris is very much in that same mould.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I did see a race about me and you, Chris, at Exeter, where you bored up the inside of me down the home straight. That was quite a frightening race. I think we got them for Swindon. That was quite an eventful evening, really. But one thing I was going to ask you about was, how much does the grass track sort of bear on how you ride in your style? Because, I mean, I don't think there's anyone probably in history of Speedway passed as many blokes as you have. You must have held the record for the amount of passes.
Yeah.
And, with all the, I mean, you can see me ride all the deep, the outside, scrape the fence and hanging off it and all the rest of it. The grass track, the history of grass track must bear some resemblance to, or contribute to that. What are your sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped, especially when the tracks are a bit patchy and everything. Obviously, it's like riding around in the field. It's you've got holes and everything and into the ruts and that. So I think it has helped. Obviously, the bikes are a lot different, so they do react different to when you go from, like, especially on the Speedway, from the slick to a big berm and that. So, but I just mastered over the years riding at Exeter. Helped me out a lot. And then when I went to Coventry, when Coventry used to be grippy and have a big berm, how you enter the corner and what positions to sit on the bike, really, and everything. So I think with the grass track, it did help me along. Obviously, a lot of the riders younger riders hasn't come from the grass track side of it. They have more come straight into the Speedway. But I would like to see some more Speedway riders do the grass track, especially youngsters, because I think it would help them with that bike skill. Yeah,
years ago there was so many. I rode grass before motocross myself, and I rode here with Chris. Obviously, Chris Louis, there's Mark Loram, Screeney from grass. So many people back in the day. That was the sort of stepping stone to Speedway, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I remember going to the grass tracks, and you say you had Wiggy and Mark, and then going to Exeter on a Monday, and they was there as well doing that, and it was like, brilliant.
And that going to Exeter, did you? Just one other thing, did you? When you came as a schoolboy and signed for Exeter, obviously that was quite fitting. And obviously you must have learned of Exeter. Exeter is the gnarliest track in the country, I think, for that sort of thing. And the way the fence came up and the berm up to the fence. Did any other clubs sort of come in for you early on there, or was Exeter local, or what was the?
I think obviously I was at. The year before I went to Exeter, I was obviously at St Austell Goals in the National League, or Conference League it was called then. And then obviously we'd done a few meetings at Exeter and practices, and we used to go out, say, on a Monday every week with my dad. So, and that was his local favourite track at the time, and I always I want to ride for Exeter. So when Colin approached end of the year saying, you come and ride us in the Premiership, the old Premiership, we was like, yeah, we're there. And I happened to sign on I think it was my 16th birthday to ride there, and it was, I wasn't plain sailing because obviously I lost my dad that winter, so he never actually got to see me ride in the Exeter bib fully, but it was his dream that I rode there, and I'm glad I fulfilled that and had 2 good seasons there. Managed to win the league in 2000, we won that against Swindon overall with the and we won that because of the bonus points, because we never lost the bonus point, because as you've ridden there, it's such a good home track advantage. We was beating everyone 60-30 probably every week, so we'd always get the bonus point. I was a bit gutted that one year we should have had 2 75-15s, but I spoiled it, and he 15 when they put me and Bobby Aldridge out, and he 15, and then I ran a third. So we could have had two back-to-back 75-15s, but we didn't. But a lot of the tracks.
Tell me one of them wasn't against Glasgow, Chris.
It was Glasgow and Arena Essex. I didn't want to say anything.
I remember.
Chris, did you see that paid off Colin Hill in the Kodak envelopes in them days then, or not?
Yeah, every Monday go in there, and after the meeting they go, there you are, that's it.
Kodak envelope.
Probably mine was like that thick, and about that, but Cole's was probably like that.
Right. I can remember doing a meeting too at Exeter, and he used to come out, he'd call in with the Kodak envelope or whatever with your wages in.
Yeah,
Could never meet.
I always remember he used to say, he goes, if you ever go into services, and you see any of them, the envelopes, can you pick them up and bring them back to us? So every services we go, we used to pack that big. Here we go, Cole, that's for our wages this month.
green true print. You had to go in the bar to get them, didn't you? You had to go in the bar to get your money.
Yeah, that's one way of getting us in the bar.
Yeah, good bar that. We're absolutely paying.
Fantastic memories.
Couldn't have met a nicer man than Colin Hill, could you?
No, so I've ridden for a lot of promoters over the year, and he will definitely be one of them, the best ones that I've ridden for. He was a man of his word. You tight as anything, but if he owed you £1, he would pay you that £1 to the thing. But if you owe him £1, he expected that £1 back. So I was lucky that I've ridden for a lot of promoters, and God rest his soul. And the same is with Colin Pratt. To be fair, they're probably one of the two nicest, best promoters I've ridden for.
Just the Formula One hotels on tour weren't so good, were they?
No, the hotels weren't the greatest. It was probably better to sleep in the van.
Yeah.
That's lovely to hear you say that. It's lovely to hear you say that, Chris, about Colin and both Collins.